Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee and this is Randy, and we're here as usual at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, bringing you some homeless animals that need to find some place to call their own. And our first guest is Rocky. Rocky is a little chocolate-colored, short-haired puppy, obviously, very happy, you can see by his waggy tail. And he came to us from a family who just did not have enough time to take care of a rambunctious puppy. And when I say rambunctious puppy, I mean completely normally rambunctious, because he's kind of a low-key puppy. He's not hyper, he's active and friendly, but you can get some puppies that are pretty high energy, and he wouldn't fall into that classification. So Rocky is a type of dog that a lot of people refer to as a bassador, because he looks retrieverish and houndish. But we think he also might be part pit, we don't know. But we have to include that because there are a lot of landlords that have restrictions about dogs they think are bully breeds, and we want to make sure that he doesn't get in any landlord trouble. Obviously, you could get him DNA tested and find out that that's not the case at all. But people still discriminate against dogs based on what they look like. So you have to watch out for that, and you have to be ready. He sure has a houndish personality, loves to be rubbed, tail constantly wagging, nice short coat. You know, just found Randy's treat pocket. And because he's 6 months old, we're going to take 4 applications for him and then pick the best match for him. For his personality, we look for people to adopt puppies who either have raised a puppy before or who are totally ready for the commitment. Because nationwide, about 10% of puppies get returned after adoption. Here at Frederick County Animal Control, because we do this for application process, we're able to keep that number a lot lower. We still do get some puppies returned though. So when I sit down and talk to you about crate training and house training and all of the things, he just noticed the bunnies, all of the things that you have to do to raise a puppy, when people see such a cute dog and have played with him and know they want to bring him home and make him part of their family, it sounds like it's all easy. And then when you get home and you work 8 hours a day plus a little commute time, and you have kids that need to do homework and you like to cook dinner, which you should do, you realize that there's only about an hour and a half or 2 hours left in the day. That will be more than filled up by a puppy. Now, the one thing is, it doesn't take very long before they're not puppies anymore, and they're part of your family, and they do what you do. But during the first 6 months to a year after you bring home a young dog, you really have to give all of your extra time to making sure your puppy turns into the lassie that everybody dreams of. Our next guest is Lucy, and Lucy is 1.5 years old, and interestingly, has just as much energy as Rocky. She's much tinier, so it's in a smaller package. She is also houndish, and Lucy came to us as a stray, and she was adopted by a family that had a 3-year-old little girl, and they returned her, much as we talked about with puppies. She's not house trained yet, and she just loved this little girl. She was climbing on her all the time, jumping on her all the time, wrestling with her all the time. And because she's not house trained, the mom realized that when we talk about getting a dog like this and needing constant supervision, nobody thinks that that means constant supervision, but it absolutely does. In order for her to get house trained, it's going to take 3 days, which is wonderful, because if she were a baby puppy, it would take 3 weeks. But it's going to take 3 days of constant supervision, and what that means is that when you can't be with her like this, holding on to her leash, then you have to put her in a little box, a crate, and a lot of times people say, well, why would I want to get a dog and then put him in a cage? Well, you don't. What you want to do is to use the cage like you would a baby crib, so that when you can't be with her and you can't be looking at her, she has a safe place to stay where she can't make mistakes. House training a dog is critically two things. Number one, rewarding them for going to the bathroom outside, but number two, catching them every time they go inside. So if you're not watching them, what they learn is to hide from you when they eliminate, and then you have a real problem. She is not at that point. She just doesn't know. She came to us as a stray, probably lived outside, never went inside. So it's going to be pretty easy to house train her, but it will take 3 days of constant supervision. Now, if you also have a 3-year-old at home, that just might be too much to ask. So I think she's going to make someone a lovely dog, because the important things, her love of people, her attitude towards people, and her handling comfort is going to make her a really great dog. She just needs to learn not to go to the bathroom in the house, and how to stay home alone if you have a busy work schedule. And those are things that we can tell you how to teach her so that you can integrate her into your family. Now, I told you those stories to tell you this one. This is Duchess, and Duchess is all pity, and she is the same age as Rocky, but you can see much, much higher energy. And she has the same behavior as Lucy. Jumps all over people, children included, loves contact, wants to be loved and held and touched. And of course, now Randy's giving her treats and making her look all calm. She is very friendly and exuberant. And because she's 6 months old, that means we are also going to take 4 applications for her and find the best match. She's a beautiful little girl. I don't think she's going to get too big, but as you can see, she is going to need everything that any puppy would. So she'll need house training and some chew toys and lots of supervision, and she's going to make somebody a great pet. One of the things that is nice about you being able to view some of the dogs interacting with Randy is that hopefully you can compare and contrast and see they're all being asked to do the same thing, come into a strange room and have a camera pointed at them and have bunnies off to the side, and you can see how differently they handle all of it. You can see how, you probably can't see how easy or hard it is for Randy, because he knows how, like, tricks of movement and ways that he can help them face the camera as much as possible. But hopefully you can see the difference in their energy level and their interest in food and that kind of thing, because the fact that she is very motivated by getting a treat means she's going to be easy to train. So if you think that Duchess would make a good match for you or someone that you know, don't forget, even if you're not going to adopt yourself, that you can always share this episode of Pet Pals or go on to Facebook, and Randy usually clips out each animal's individual segment so that you can share that with anybody who might be interested, and rescues included. So if you know rescues that would be interested in taking a certain dog, you can let them know to contact us. Usually if we can get them adopted from the shelter, then we do so, making it short, sweet, and simple. But there are a lot of times that there are specialty groups that take certain dogs, like we showed you the puppy last week, Spring, who guarded her food when she first came and now doesn't, or any other kind of special situation. Then we always like to know about those people, and Linda can talk to them about how to work with us. Our next guest is Benji, and Benji is only 11 months old. He is almost his full size. And he has cute little white feet and shaggy fur, as you can plainly see. He is a sweet little dog, and he was given up to us for all the same reasons we've been talking about today. And that is, without supervision, he will chew up your belongings. So some of that he's going to grow out of no matter what you do, but I don't recommend you to take that tactic, because the things that you may lose between now and then could be valuable and important to you, and even dangerous to Benji to eat. So again, with the constant supervision, and when I say that, I've said that a lot this morning or today, and one of the things that you might not believe when I say constant supervision is that I mean constant. So what you will have to do with dogs this young is, again, with the cage suggestion, I absolutely understand that dogs don't need to live in a cage and that it makes people sad to put dogs in a cage, especially if they whimper and they use their little paw to tell you that they're sad in there. But the reason it's important is the same reason that you use a crib for a baby. You should only use the crate if you need to be asleep and you don't trust your dog to be free while you're sleeping yet. And you should only use the crate as a way to help your dog gain his freedom by not being able to access dangerous things. If you plan on getting a dog and being gone 8 hours a day plus commute and having him crated while you're at work, and you plan on crating him at night while you sleep, that's too much cage time, and I agree. Perhaps now is not a good time for you to add a dog to your family, unless you can add a dog who's already trained, 5 or 6 years old, already accustomed to staying home alone. You take a little bit of time off to get them used to your schedule and you, and it's much, much easier than taking an 11-month-old puppy who wants to touch and taste everything to the stage where he needs to be able to stay home alone. Also, if you have a flexible schedule or work from home, a great time to get a puppy, or think about doggy daycare. It's a little pricey, but well worth it because you only need to do it for a few months while your puppy grows up to be the adult dog that you need him to be, to mix in with your family and be a big part of your life. So Benji is going to make somebody pretty happy, but important to know, he's only 11 months old, which means it's going to take 6 months or so until he's mature enough to handle all the things that you would like your dog to handle. Our next guest is Angel, and I always like to remind you that we have mostly dogs and cats, but we also have other animals in the shelter. So whenever you're thinking of a pet, it's nice to consider at least giving us a call first before you look, because if we have the pet you're interested in, then you may want to think of coming to the shelter first. We give everybody a little adoption interview that includes how to care for your pet, what kind of food they eat, what kind of vet care they need. And it's very important to remember that all pets do need a vet. So sometimes people think, well, it's just a parakeet or it's just a rat. I can just get a new one if something happens to it. But if you think about the quality of life and the situation that your pet is going to fill, the position your pet's going to fill in your heart, you do want to have a doctor that can care for your particular type of animal in the wings in case something goes wrong. There is nothing sadder than a tiny little rat that doesn't feel well, so you want to at least have somebody to call and check out. So this little girl is only 6 months old. That's why she's so speedy. And she is here with some of her litter mates, so if you want to adopt more than one rat, consider doing so because they keep each other company and they enjoy being together. They're very social and clean. They like to go swimming, and I do not mean put the rat in your pool. That would be crazy. But some people fill up their bathroom sink and let them swim right there with supervision so you can help them out because like all mammals, they can also drown. So, but some rats do like to swim, and that's a fun thing you can do with them. This little one is called Angel, and she's part fancy rat and part Dumbo rat. And while that doesn't really matter because both of those rats are bred for pets, what is cute is the Dumbo rats have really big ears, which Angel does have. So it is just something that makes her cute and interesting. But what's really important is that she was raised in a family and handled a lot. So she's used to people, very curious and confident, and she's going to make somebody a really fun pet. We are going to take a short break. You'll see some announcements, and then we're going to be back with more animals that need homes in Frederick County.
If you're looking for an incredible experience, meet a shelter pet and adopt. They make super pets who will enrich your life and steal your heart. Adopt and bring home a shelter pet today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back. We are still Dee Dee and Randy, and we are still at Frederick County Pet Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, and we are back with some more adoptable animals. This is Felicia. Felicia is a very petite 1.5-year-old TORBI kitty, and she was given to us because her family wasn't allowed to have her in a new home that they had to go to. She has big eyes and a short face, kind of like Burmese and Singapura cats. She is just a plain domestic short hair though. She just happens to be tiny and beautiful. She is used to people, as you can see, confident in this room. And we color code all of our cats blue, orange, and green by their name tags. And the reason that we do that is to try to help you narrow down a pet that you want to bring home with you. The blue name tag cats are very experienced with people, or seem to be very friendly, very easy to handle by the medical techs. They can trim their nails, clean their ears, look in their mouth, that kind of thing. And so they often make very good pets for children because kids want to hold their cats, they want to be near their cats and be able to interact with them. Our orange kitties are just regular cats, used to people, easy to handle, friendly, like to be pet. But typical of all cats, they have, you know, change of activity needs. Sometimes they want to sleep, sometimes they want to play. And then our green name tag cats are often kittens, but not always, because kittens can be blue and orange as well. Sometimes they're born already knowing their personality. But the green ones are more shy or very, very playful. So what we're saying with green is that they don't have all the information about living with people that the other cats seem to just come by naturally. So if you want a more younger cat, or even a cat that is special in some kind of way, then not that they're not all individually special and remarkable, then ask us about any cats with a green name tag, why they have that designation, and it'll usually be on their profile, which, if you don't know what that is, whenever you come to the shelter, all of our animals have an extensive written profile of everything we've done to them medically, everything their previous owners, if there was one, told us about them, their foster moms sometimes write notes. All of our dogs get a behavior assessment where we walk another dog past, we give them delicious food, and then take it away. We share all of that with you in case it plays a role in which pet you want to choose to take home. And of course, we're well aware that usually the way people choose their pet is it's a love at first sight type of feeling. You come into the shelter, you see an animal you weren't even planning to adopt, and you just simply know that that pet is a good match for you. But if you are planning for a whole family, then you might want to take a more reserved and detached approach and come in and look at the information about all the pets before you go back and see them and fall in love. Because once that happens, it's a done deal. This little girl is called Kitten. She's 2 or 3 years old, and she's pretty unique looking because her color is called AGOUTI. And all that means is that she has the brown tabby genetics, but she doesn't have the gene that overlays stripes or spots on top of that. So she looks kind of like the color of an Abyssinian, if you've ever seen them. And because she has the tiny little round face, Singapuras also come in the same AGOUTI color. But she's just a plain domestic short hair. She just happens to have an exotic coloring. She also happens to be very affectionate and sweet. And the reason that she came to be at the shelter was her owner passed away. And that is something for all pet owners to think about. You should have a plan, a couple things that you need to do right now. You can, even worth it to pause your TV and go do it, is to put a slip of paper in your wallet behind your driver's license that says, "I have pets. In the event of an accident, please call this number." The reason is because even if you're delayed for a short time, like let's say you have a minor car accident, somebody wants you to go to the hospital, the ambulance drives you there, you go to the hospital, they want to check you in overnight just to watch you because you bumped your head. It will be great if the ambulance people can check that information, which they do, especially if you're unconscious, and let someone know, a neighbor, a family member, a friend, to go in and check on your pets. Make sure that person knows how to get a key to your house. Now, in longer range planning, I know all of us say, I really need to write a will. You really, really do. So it's very simple. You can just have an attorney draw up a template that you fill out and then sign it and file it, because you need to give someone access to some limited funds so that they can care for your pets in the event of emergency, and also so that they have permission to get them. because there are all kinds of things about property law that affect your pets. So something to think about. Talk to an attorney, get things in order, tell a friend what you want to have done, just so they're looking out for your pets in the event of emergency. Most of us outlive our pets, but if you're like me and you have horses that live potentially 30, 40 years, you do have to plan. I also have a parrot. Parrots can live 60, 70 years just like us. Hopefully we get to live longer, but you never know. So just have a plan, have somebody in your family that knows what you want done and who to call, and then your pets are less likely to end up in the shelter. But if they do, this is a lovely, friendly, healthy little kitty. And as I said, she is about 2 to 3 years old, so still very young, and she's going to make someone a lovely pet. This is Leopold, and Leopold is a beautiful male brown tabby. He's about 2 years old. He's neutered. Which is fascinating to me because it had to have been recent. He has big cheeks, and that comes to mature males. And you can actually, he's a great example of the difference between male and female cats when we don't spay and neuter, because picture Felicia and Kitten, and they're similar coloring, similar domestic short hair, but look how different he looks. I mean, even from a distance, he's more masculine looking. So Leopold is going to make someone a lovely pet. A lot of times, people like the look of the mature male, so he'll be attractive to somebody. And also, male cats tend to be, I mean, you can never say this for sure because every cat has his or her individual personality, but male cats tend to be more outgoing, likely to approach strangers, and so if you were looking for that kind of cat, then you might be interested in Leopold. He also has some beautiful white markings, and he's very curious, as you can see. He's ready to check out the room. So if you are interested in meeting him or meeting any of our cats, come on down and see them, because sometimes I can't really do them justice here in the minute that we have to show you how affectionate they can be, how beautiful they look. So coming and meeting them is really the key, because when you know you're ready to adopt a cat, it can be really great to come and see our selection. Right now we have quite a few cats in the shelter. You may hear us say that we have some empty cages, and that doesn't mean that the selection of cats is low. It just means that as shelter people, when we have 50 cats in the building, we think that's not too many. So it's important to think about in shelter terms when we say we have some empty cages and there's not as many cats as there were in the summer. By no means does that mean that we don't have many to choose from for you. We also still have some kittens. They're not being featured today because these guys have been here longer and they need to get their video moment for Pet Finder. But we do have some kittens, and we have about 20 more kittens in foster care. So if you are interested in getting a kitten, don't give up. The season's not completely over. Come into the shelter as often as you can, though, because of course with only 20 left, they get snapped up pretty quickly after they arrive. This is Patches. Patches is a beautiful blue and white parakeet, gazing lovingly at his reflection in the mirror. And he's quite friendly. A lot of times when you get a parakeet, it takes quite a while to be able to approach and touch them. This little guy is already willing to let you touch him. He doesn't perch on your finger yet, but boy, the hard work is done because he enjoys affection. And if you've never had a bird before, it's really important to have someone show you how they like to be touched, because since they have feathers instead of fur, they really object to being brushed against the grain, so to speak. So they groom each other. Parakeets groom each other. So the way they like to be touched is you use your own fingers like a little beak and comb their feathers for them. And we can show you how to do it. Especially we can show you how to do it on him because he's amenable to it. And he is a lovely little parakeet. We think he's 8 years old, given that information from his previous owner. And the way you can tell male and female parakeets from each other is the color of the flesh around their nostrils, which is called their cere. But it really doesn't matter, because if you have one and you pay a lot of attention to them, there's no more one gender over the other that makes a better pet. If you get a female parakeet, however, which you don't have to worry about with Patches, you do have to watch their health for a problem called egg binding. Should they decide to lay an egg, no problem. But sometimes if they have trouble delivering the egg, then that becomes a veterinary emergency. So you do want to make sure that you are prepared for just a little bit more oversight when you adopt a female bird. The cage that he's in right now is a lovely cage for him to spend a couple hours a day in a nice window. You have to keep them out of drafts and keep them out of direct sun so they always can choose, but this cage is way too small for him to live in. One way that some people deal with cage size is they clip their bird's wings and they allow them to have a lot of time outside the cage. Great if you supervise, because should they flutter up to a bookcase and fall behind, wow, you cannot get them out without risking serious injury. So you got to plan. The other thing is if you don't clip their wings, ceiling fans, pots on the stove, toilets, all dangerous for birds. The other way that you can deal with it is a very big cage. And since parakeets like to chew, you want to stay away from zinc-plated wire. However, you can make your own cage for parakeets if you use the proper materials, and it can be really big, easy to clean, and give them a great lifestyle. Some people have even modified part of a screened-in porch so that they can actually go in and sit with their parakeet, and the parakeet's free to fly around in a safe place. Our next guests are Hollis and Jane. And Hollis and Jane are two female black bunnies who really enjoy each other's company. They are sisters, so we would like them to be adopted together. We spay them before you take them home. And they were brought to us in a batch of 10 bunnies that are pretty used to being handled, friendly, outgoing. We have lashed these two cages together so they can be together and have double room. One of the cutest things they do is they will get going from one end of the cage to the other, doing something that's called the bunny's happy dance. And it's very cute. They kick their heels up and they get all excited. And I think they're going to be a lot of fun. One nice thing about adopting two bunnies that are already bonded is that if you are busy and you are only going to be able to spend a little bit of time with them every day, cleaning and feeding and petting them, then you don't have to worry so much because they have each other. If you get one rabbit, then you really do need to be able to be with them every day for extended amount of time so that they have some quality of life and social affection. But if you adopt two, you can make them quite the large habitat. HouseRabbit.org has some plans. There's a website called Busy Bunny that also shows how you can make them quite the agility course so that they can have a full life. If you teach your rabbit to walk on a little harness and leash outside, you can also take them outside. Just be careful for hawks and dogs because they're prey animals, which means lots of other animals see them as a food opportunity, so they can be in a little bit of danger if they don't have you to watch out for them. So there's a lot to know about rabbits. First and foremost is that they eat hay. And so if you buy it from the feed store, it's rather inexpensive and it lasts a long time. You can also go to a pet shop and get small amounts at a time if you like. Either way, it will work out fine for them. They can have leafy green vegetables in small amounts. They can have some baked grains. But this is all something you would discuss with your bunny vet, because yes, rabbits need vets as well, just like parakeets and rats. And while they don't have annual vaccines that dogs and cats get, they still need that annual checkup. Sometimes changing coat or dentition or overgrowing claws or weight loss or sudden weight gain is the first indication of a health problem, and your vet's going to catch that before you ever notice. Thanks for joining us on Pet Pals. We hope you've either found the pet of your dreams or know of someone who might want one of our adoptable animals. Please share the link at the bottom of your screen or go to petfinder.com, find the pet that you think someone might be interested in and share that around. Or you can go to our Facebook page and see who's been adopted and who's still waiting. We will see you next time on Pet Pals. Thanks for joining us.